Welcome everyone to another week of BlastCast. I am Jarvis, and once again with me is my bastion of common sense, Lightning Dragon. And this was one heck of a week for Star Citizen. This was just a lot more information than I think a lot of us were expecting. A lot of really great stuff. So let's go ahead and get into the recap here, discuss what we feel about it, and kind of go from there. Well, let's start with the return of 10 for the chairman, or as I kind of like to put it, 8 for the chairman, since there was a couple repeat questions within the same show.
Almost 7 from the chairman.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, we covered the ones that we have, the ones here that we found was kind of new information, or at least worth talking about. Of course, it was Chris Roberts and the infamous Tony Z out there giving the answers, and these were voted on by the community through Spectrum. This is kind of a great idea, I feel, to sort out these questions in the future. So hopefully people will start voting up things they haven't heard before. So we'll get some new questions out there.
Everyone vote up the exact same question and vote down everything else. We only need to know if we can have ships in the game.
Exactly. All right, well, let's cover the first one here. One of the things they talked about in the shops is that the cargo or the inventory in shops themselves, there's going to be a visual representation. Like, you'll go in and you will probably see a visual representation of their actual stock. Now, it might be a percentage, it might be the actual full amount. It depends on the size of the shop and whatnot, but they do want to actually physically represent the store's stock, the actual current stock of the store in the game. I think that's kind of cool. They're kind of hinted that, well, not really hinted, but he said that's the same way that when you walk into a clothing store right now, you can see all the shirts and stuff hanging up. He wants to have it the same kind of way, but as things run out, basically, like, all this is sold, you don't see it on the shelf anymore, things like that. It's kind of cool. I like that. Physically loading cargo into big ships. Now, they don't want it just a button. Basically, you press a button, you finish a mission, you pick up another mission, it's all instantly loaded and unloaded. And depending upon the kind of station you're on, and also the kind of ship that you have, it's going to probably affect how that goes for loading and unloading. Something like a Hull C or something is probably going to be automatically unloaded at the station through either ships or specialized crews, but you'll have to wait. You'll have to wait a certain amount of time for them to get the job done. And like, if you're flying an Aurora or something like that, you're probably going to have to do it by hand. Get out the old hand cart and get that crap out of there. But yeah, so it just depends on kind of the tech of the place you're going to and what kind of ship you have. So they're probably gonna pay more attention to the guys carrying 40 tons of cargo as opposed to the guy carrying just a few tons. They go into scavenging and salvaging a little bit. Of course, scavenging is when you're pulling off just the basic components, like maybe some hull off of a ship or whatnot. And salvaging is when you're basically pulling fully working, or at least repairable components off of a wreckage. And what they talked about there was that an expert salvager, as a player gets better at it, you see a wreck, you're going to go, oh, I know what kind of ship this is. Let's go over here and we see if this, and this is there, so we can just rip this out of there real quick and make the most money we possibly can. And that's kind of cool. I like the idea of personal experience kind of being the guide to how successful, how much money you can make, how quickly you can make it in the persistent universe. That's really awesome. It kind of reminds me, did you ever, I assumed you watched Firefly, right, Lightning?
Yes.
Remember the first episode they show where they're salvaging? And they're, they got this gigantic wreck. I mean, and they're just going after the food. That's all they're going after because they know that's going to sell the most. And that's the kind of thing, a salvager was going to want to go out and do. They're going to want to find exactly what's going to sell the most in that ship and get it out and get going.
I think what they want to do is the component system, because they have 3D model out of these things. Like, there's 3D models for shield generators, for engines, for guns. So like what you're going to do for like the big chunk salvaging is you'd literally just like cut off an engine or whatever, or you'd cut off a gun, or you'd uninstall the shields. But it sounds like they didn't know what they wanted to do after that, and I have a feeling it's probably going to be like maybe an energy beam that you just kind of like blast it and it like slowly like vaporizes it, and you basically just get materials back, like iron or something, or titanium or whatever the ships are made out of. I sounds like that's what they want to do, but they really were just kind of like explaining nothing when they started getting that past what they think they already know.
Yeah, that part was a little vague, but obviously they're going to want to have some physical manipulation, because if you look, when you look at something like the Reclaimer, it's got a big arm in the front of it that's going to be there to grab some things and throw it in the back. So and all those will be, like they had the repair tool, the Omni tool. Basically, you can break things down, and if you can repair with it, then maybe you can break things down.
I think that
with
arm
it.
is probably going to be to secure the wreck so it doesn't float away from you.
That's a valid consideration. That may be all it's for. I don't know, but yeah, that's a good idea. That's definitely something I hadn't considered. And of course, they talked about hazards when doing mining, cargo running, and anything like that. And they said there might be meteoroid showers, debris fields, micro black holes, and things like that. What was concerning to me about this, this is kind of weird, but he was talking about how that, oh yeah, you may only go half an hour or something before something happens, or maybe 5 or 10 minutes or something like that. It was really weird. It was like, if you're a cargo runner, you're not looking to get pulled out of your trip every few minutes because something weird happens. Look at this
from a realistic perspective. If you're driving a diesel truck over the road, a big 18-wheeler rig, what you do is you hook up with your cargo. You probably have already filled up. You get on the freeway and you drive until you either have to pee, you get hungry, or you have to refill the truck. Then you get off the road, and sometimes that's hours.
Yeah,
and that's modern stuff. So why would it be any different in a spaceship? And I feel like they might want to overcomplicate the game, and I don't want to see that.
No, I mean, people who are flying fighters are looking for a certain kind of gameplay. People who are playing cargo runners are looking for a certain kind of gameplay. A lot of us, we just want to hang out with our friends. Like, hey, this is going to take us like an hour to get to the destination. Why don't we just go ahead? And I had no problems with the idea of doing maintenance on a ship, but it shouldn't be like, okay, I took off, all the parts are falling apart. Everyone quickly strip everything down and fix it all. So which it had that kind of emphasis, the way it was sounding, like something was always going to be breaking. And it's like, no. My ships aren't made out of crap. So, it was one of those things that, you should, like, okay.
Maintenance is going to be a thing, but it has to be well balanced, because otherwise it's just going to be obnoxious.
You remember when we were talking about missions, how they talked about there's going to be variations in those missions?
Exactly.
It's the same kind of thing. We said if you do it too much, you kind of end up overcooking it.
What's going to happen is like, oh, well, this ship is it has a bad something or other. People will just stop playing that ship.
Right.
Just as well as like,
or that mission
to save the pilot.
Yeah.
50% of the time it's combat when you don't want it. People will just stop doing that mission.
Exactly. So
will apply here.
It's the same thing, right? And I always say like something should happen maybe every between 5 and 10 times. You come across something different. It doesn't have to be combat. It could be something your sensors pick up. It could be anything, and that could be up to you at that point to stop and check it out, or to just keep on trucking. It shouldn't be something that forces you out of what you're doing.
Because if you had a scanning system kind of pop up, if you were doing something other than cargo running, maybe you're a salvage ship, and you're coming back and you're like, oh, well, we got like half a cargo load of salvage, and something pops up, you go, oh, well, maybe we want to stop and look at this because you're a salvage ship. But if you're a cargo ship, that's random event pops up and you pick something up on your radar and you're a cargo ship and you're like, fuck that, I'm not going to stop for this, and you just keep going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at it this way. I mean, I play Elite Dangerous as well. So let's look at a scenario we have in Elite Dangerous that's very common. I'm flying around on my Python. For some reason, I got this dumb mission I picked up because I'm going to go... I'm going to this location anyway. They're shipping 2 tons of manure for some reason, because that's a little extra money. It's not much money, but I'm going there anyway. And then I have some pirate going, aha, how did you get this far having all those riches in your cargo? Like, dude, it's 2 tons of shit. And instantly you're getting interdicted, and you got some dude trying to pull it, and he keeps chasing you down all the way to the point.
You up for poop.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, come on. And so you're sitting there, and it gets frustrating because you keep jumping away from this guy because you don't even want to bother fighting him. It's not even worth it. It's like, I just want to get to the station, and you'll be interdicted 3-4 times on the way to the station. Every one of them going, oh man, that wealth you're carrying in your cargo bay is just incredible. You're like, dude, it's shit. Leave me alone. And so I don't need that as Star Citizen. I want to be able to get to my destinations without constantly being interrupted by pointless crap. Listen, if something happens once in a while, it's fine. If something happens that is interesting, even better. But just don't pull me out because you feel that I'm going to be bored sitting in my ship. I'm the one choosing to do cargo runs. Okay.
Yes, we're not going to be bored. And if we are getting bored, you're like, man, I don't really want to do cargo missions anymore. I'm kind of bored. Hey, let's go explore that asteroid field and see if we can scan down some rocks to go mine.
Or I'm kind of bored. Let's make the game windowed and turn on YouTube while we go ahead and watch.
There you go.
See, there's a concept for you.
We don't need shit to be always happening, always breaking, always needing to be repaired.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a spaceship designed to be in space. Most of them are brand new. You've paid real money for them at this point in the game. They should be, good to go for like a couple months of game time before you even think about, oh, well, these things are getting a bit worn down. We might want to go and refurbish them. It should take literally months of game time.
And most of the times you're going to be flying in space anyway. Don't you think you check that stuff before you take off? I mean, that's just me.
Pre-flight checklist.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and check over my components. Then I'm going to fly. I don't need them breaking down in the middle of a half-an-hour run. I mean, I have to sit there with like half my cargo filled with replacement parts because shit keeps breaking. That's anyway. So they can go over the top of this, and it sounds like to a degree. And this once again, this kind of goes back to the whole thing where this instant action that needs to be had constantly. This feeling that the devs to some degree feel that if you're not sitting there doing something, like constantly it's some sort of emergency or something, you're going to be bored out of your mind. That's why there's different gameplay styles. You don't have to instant action everything. It's everything from the flight model on down. It doesn't always have to be instantaneous victory, instantaneous this, instantaneous that. Come on, guys.
If you look at
let's slow it down a bit.
In Eve, you would basically AFK mined at one point, but the belts weren't safe. I mean, NPCs would attack you, players would try and mess with you or stuff, depending on what security level. So even if you were mining, I mean, most of the time you had like dual screens in Eve. Eve was a dual screen game, and what you'd do is you'd have Eve in the left screen or right screen or whatever mining. And on the other screen, you'd be reading or watching YouTube or watching Netflix. I don't think Netflix
music going, whatever.
Well,
Doesn't matter.
Netflix.
You have voice
around.
chat.
But yeah, or you're talking to people, and you're doing other things because you don't want to be sitting there going, "Hang on, guys, I really need to focus on this mining." It's mining.
Yeah, well, in Star Citizen, luckily it's going to be a little bit deeper, but generally, I get what you're saying.
The problem with that is if they make it too complex, it'll be tedious, and no one will want to do it.
We don't need constantly exploding asteroids. They should even the failures should be somewhat not as you have to almost they shouldn't be as common. They can happen, but they don't need to happen every time.
This is why I keep telling you, 3.0 is the make or break point of the game. We're getting all these features. We'll be getting mining, getting salvaging, getting new systems, all the travel.
I don't think salvaging is 3.0. It might be like a small version, like
handheld.
They're
talking about it. I mean, it's going to be in.
We'll have to see how much that comes in now.
Yeah, I mean, it might be rudimentary, like pulling parts off. But the thing is, these are when all these complex systems are coming in. This is what Star Citizen is going to be. It's not Arena Commander. That's not Star Citizen.
No, so much not.
For me, if 3.0 is underwhelming, this is the time to be like, okay, we're done. Or you're like, okay, this is exactly what I want. I mean, you just
it's like, it's I see where they're going with it, and it has potential, and I'm going to stick it out, kind of thing. And
this is the time to actually make your decision. Like when mining comes out, you're like, I only want to do mining. So if mining comes out, granted it's going to be rudimentary, it's basic and stuff. If it looks good, then stick with it because it's going to get better.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't expect to be perfect when it comes out, but yeah, that's the thing though. Is that guys, you don't need to entertain us constantly. We're adults. We can entertain ourselves. You don't have to constantly have fighters come out of every corner of the universe to attack us because it's been 5 minutes. So just keep it chilled out. Let us go ahead and play the game the style that we want to play. Keep it in reason, and I think we'll all be happy. Don't pull me out because I've got 2 tons of manure in my back, in my storage bin or something. That's stupid.
I see you've got poop there. I must destroy you now.
Well, on to the next one. We had how will destructible props be repaired over time? And that's dealing with things like windows and stations and things like that. And they said that large-scale items or important items like windows or parts of a station being damaged or destroyed, those will be persistent, meaning that they're going to be handled on the server side. Small things like if you go into a room and, I don't know, someone throws something and breaks a beer bottle, and you come back 5 minutes later, that beer bottle might be sitting there again, completely intact on your screen, but the guy who's never left the bar, it's still broken sitting over there in the corner or something. And the reason is they don't want to try to track on the server every little gum wrapper or whatever that's been dropped. And the things that really don't have any effect on the game aren't going to be handled on the server side. But those kind of things, destruction of certain base, parts of a base, or maybe a window being shot out.
I want to stop you just for a second
and
remind people watching that in lore, they have stated the glass you have in your ships is actually stronger than the steel.
That's true. I can't figure out why the glass is so made to be like it, because they unless
if it was an internal non-structural piece, I could see using regular glass, but external stuff, no, that's like an ultra steel.
And why would you have breakable glass windows anyway on the station? Like that would be like the worst idea ever. I agree. Like I
you
played that.
Even wouldn't have glass. You probably have plexiglass.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, even then, I mean, like, if it's that steel stuff, okay, like when you play Star Marine, you can come on and you shoot the windows out. And oh man, those windows are so fragile. But the thing is that, you know, from what they said a long time ago, like, oh, that what we see through in our cockpit isn't glass. It's this transparent steel. It's just as tough as, if not tougher than the actual. And the reason there's not much on it.
You have limited windows.
It's expensive to make
because it's very expensive.
Yeah. So like this idea that you basically
seems like they totally forgot this.
Yeah. It's really very odd that they have that kind of that lore, and then the way that blends in the game. It seems to be that's
there's gonna be pilot kills in this game. How? Why?
Yeah, that would be the hardest part. That would be the hardest part to break through. Yeah. Yeah, that would be the hardest part to break through according to their lore. So that would, you know, it's like, you know, I could shoot through a thing of iron, or I could shoot through a diamond. The strongest ships
in the game would actually be nothing but glass.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know what you'd want to pay for something like that, but yeah, that'd be the strongest in-lore ship.
Well, Wonder Woman paid quite a lot for hers. No. So basically, the last one we have here, someone asked about, will you be able to move between professions fluidly, or will there be like a rep system? Now, obviously, there's no professions, but basically, all the missions are going to rely on not only your ship but your reputation with the people. So, no one's going to give you expensive things to haul unless you've got to work with them.
I hope they don't do the elite version of this, where if you walk in, let's say you have a hull C, okay? Yeah. And you walk in and say, I have a hull C, I'd like a cargo mission. And they say, well,
2 tons manure?
We have 1 box of Kleenexes that we want you to ship. And you go, but I have a hull C. And they say, no, all we have is 1 box of Kleenexes.
Yeah, they need to scale opportunity.
Haul 10 boxes of Kleenexes.
Exactly.
And not all at once. I mean, you need to do 10 missions for us of hauling this 1 box of Kleenexes. But I would love to see where you have a down payment.
Mm-hmm.
Where you go in there and you say, I want to haul stuff, and they say, okay, well, we have this, we need to haul this much stuff, but, you know, we have to have an insurance payment. And
right, deposit or something.
Yeah, so there's a certain percentage based on your reputation that you have to pay up front to do this mission, and when you finish the mission, you get that deposit back. So, I mean, if there's an incentive to protect your cargo because you've paid for it, I mean, they're going to get money no matter what.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's a good idea. I like that. So, yeah, I think that I would like to go in there, have a nice big cargo ship, and not have to ship 2 tons of manure because that's all my reputation allows. It needs to consider your ship. It needs to give you the option to sell a ship 100% of your cargo of the cheapest crap they have as their starting reputation, as long as it lets you actually fill that ship up and not waste space. I look on missions, they get static on how much you can ship, like 35 tons of this. Like, be like, we want you to ship this. Please select how many tons you'd like to ship. And I'd like to slide it off or all the way to where it's full and go, okay.
All the way to the right.
All the way to the right. That's a very important game thing to do. Yes, slider. Always go all the way to the right on sliders. For those of you who ever made characters in an MMO, you'll know exactly what I'm referring to. Okay, so anyway, so we have the happy hour recap, and once again they were playing a game. So let me summarize the entire hour for you. Basically, there was a question about the extra game packages. They'll give us an extra character slot, or we'll have a separate account, and they said that they're still trying to figure that out right now. There you go. Welcome to happy hour. So whenever they play, when they play games, they really don't do.
They can't answer anything.
No, it's when
it's becoming pretty common too. If you ever see happy hour and they're playing a game, just shut it off.
Yeah, just walk away.
Just shut it off. No thumbs up, no thumbs down. Just turn it off.
Yeah, if they're sitting around a table and they're all just talking, it could be worth listening to. But otherwise, just don't worry about it. It's basically a live stream. It's a streamer's live stream, and I don't really watch those because
there's nothing new as far as gameplay to show.
Yeah.
Unless they come out and say, "Hey, we've got an early version of 3.0. Look, we're going to show off." I mean, then by all means, go for it. But they're not doing that. They're going to release 3.0 to the Evocati people, and then it's going to be NDA.
I'm sorry.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. I coughed there.
Oh, you coughed there, yeah. Anyway, they're going to release it to the avocados. It'll be NDA, and you won't see anything about it until it's full release. And you know what? They'll probably tease you about it in around the verse or something.
Yeah. Well, and of course, speaking of the verses, around the verse, well, actually this week
that's an excellent segue. I totally meant to do that.
Well, that was now you've ruined it because you've interrupted it. So no. So around the verse this week was probably honestly one of the best ones they've ever done. Period. Hands down. just watch it. Excellent.
That's
A lot of it.
No.
A lot of it basically is based around the Studio UK update, and basically they go into the mission system, how these tools are being set for missions, the persistent universe, that basically how tools scale. They can scale something, how they can scale the missions larger or smaller, and how it's all done with a visual system, kind of like the way that you would almost to an extent like you would drag files into one another. It's very interesting. You'd have to see it to get a better explanation than I'm ever going to do here. But they show basically like they move a whole planet and they say, okay, well, everything that's on this planet is in this visual representation of this planet. And it includes all the bases, it includes all the stuff that's in the bases, it includes the trees, the rocks, all of it, and the missions. And from within there, if they want to add more missions, then they go to the visual representation of the planet or whatever. Then it's very interesting. So they are interested to see how fast they can turn around and make content with a system like that. The animation team, they've been working on all sorts of weapon animations with the P4AR, the P8SC, the P8AR, the Devastator, Shotgun, Railgun, Gallant, and Arrowhead. So we got some new guns coming on the line. I can't wait to pull out a Railgun and see how effective that is in Star Marine.
Are they going to make a Pen 15?
No. Let's give them time, though. Give them time.
Because there's no keywords in there.
Yeah, that's true. Except there's some just throw something and it's not a dagger and hits you right in the forehead. You're like, what the hell was that? Oh, it's like, were you playing Saints Row?
No.
No. So they also showed off some of the new lighting effects on the characters. They used a character model to show this. See, a lot of sci-fi has a tendency to show the future as an interesting dystopian future where only one light bulb per room exists and everything is either really bright or really shadowed at an exact opposite angle. And they're trying to basically, with this new lighting system, to diffuse the light much more effectively. So you don't have this right side of his face is completely lit, the left side of his face is completely in shadows. And while that's often interesting artistically, in a game it makes it wonder like how, if they ever want to read anything, they don't have to pull out a lighter and kind of hold it next to the page. It's just, you know. So yeah, I'm glad they're changing or working on the lighting.
We're not going to have lighters in the game?
Lighters not confirmed.
Oh man.
And they showed off some of the new kiosk shopping interfaces and how they're basically how they're laid out for all the new shop types and locations that are be coming out. And they have also showed a. They were talking about that they're adding improvements to the in-game UI when walking and also in ships, so for interactivity and things like that. So we'll see how that goes. Right now, as you know, you walk up to a ship and you gotta kind of look around and
try to find the spot.
Find the spot. Yeah, they need more visual cues there. I think either some marking on a combination of marking on the ship and also a marking like the indicator where you're looking or pointing to activate something. So I'm all for that. That's fine because
we never have more buttons.
Yeah. I remember that. For example, the Cutlass had you went in the back. There was a button on the landing gear. You go boop, and then the door would open up. Yep. So and your hand would actually go out and touch the button. So
touch the button.
So yeah, I kind of missed that actually. And of course they go over Star Citizen kind of level design. But what they're doing here is with the buildings is they're kind of creating this. Seeded, the way that the planets are seeded, they create a seed and then it's all generated and you end up with a whole planet. But what they're doing with stations and bases and things like that is the exact same thing. They have a bunch of little pieces that they use to construct rooms, and once they have a series of rooms set out, like tons and tons and tons of different rooms, they make sure that they all have interconnectivity, and then when the seed is put into motion, a whole base, either in space or a building structure set on the ground can be made in a matter of seconds. And then what they do is they go down there and physically check them. So like space stations, I want to make sure that when you open a door, it doesn't like open into space, minor things like that. And but they say, but with this new system, they can actually do between 20 and 30 different layouts a day. So they can build 20 or 30 stations a day. And they still have to, they still need to make sure they're all tested and everything, but that's pretty awesome. That shows that when they get to that point where they're done developing Squadron 42 Everything's out for there, and they're fully cranking just on the persistent universe. The content, and the locations, and things like that are just going to explode. We're going to have new things probably with every patch, and it's just going to make things more and more interesting.
It's a little bit like Subnautica or
Diablo.
or Diablo, in how you kind of just place things together, and then it kind of like creates a door depending on what's connected to each other.
Yeah.
In Subnautica, you have to have like hallways and stuff.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have them with what they're doing with the Star Citizen building. So just build a doorway, or it'll destroy a wall, and you'll have just this bigger room.
Yeah, when they did this in-game graphic walkthrough, where basically they're showing, as you're sitting in there, they change this part of the room. Now it's this. And then they change the camera angle. Now I'm changing this part of the room. Now it opens up into a larger room, and now we're going to change that. And they do this back and forth to show you, and this how easy it is for them to change a layout. Now within this, you have things like the age of the build of the construction. Is it rusty? Is it new? Is it old? And also different archetypes, like different construction types. So imagine, if you will, for example, and this is just I can't say this for certain, but let's just use this as one we can recognize. You have a difference between the layout of, say, Port Olisar versus the layout of Grim Hex. Now you could have rooms that have the exact same quote unquote shape layout, but they have a whole different aesthetic. And using
all the internals are different.
Yes, like you could have rock walls or something like that. So they can use this.
Textures are different.
Mm-hmm, they can use this to basically these things by basically switching out what its materials it's made out of, or what the general architecture is, and then using the same system lay out all these things as well. So they're trying to create enough variety that when you go into Station A and Station Z, and I've seen all the stations in between, that you don't always feel like you're walking into the exact same place. A little bit of newness. You walk in a place, you don't know where everything is because you haven't been there. Now, even within each individual room, the layout of the things in the room change. So, like, even the bathrooms will lay out differently. You may have a bathroom with 4 toilets, each one in each corner. You may have a bathroom with all the toilets.
Now you've gone too far. You cannot mess with the sanctitude of bathrooms being different.
No. Everything's gonna be different. I mean, you walk into it, all the internal layouts change. So,
the toilets will be on the walls, urinals on the ceiling. It's chaos.
Well, it's zero G. That could be real interesting. Yeah. I was like, man, the toilets are on the wall, the urinals are on the ceiling. This is going to be a real mess. So no. The thing is that so having the macro and the micro being procedurally seeded should allow them not only to create these things very quickly, but also create them consistently. The same way that the planet's going to be the same every time you go to it because of the seed. And that's brilliant. I really agree with that. They said that they're possibly looking forward in the future to using this technology. Now, this is a big possible, but for laying out whole cities. And so in the future, we might actually see more well-defined cities actually being created through the same process. Now, I would love that. I know right now they say with large cities, they want to have us land in a certain area and whatnot. I would like to see that be different than that down the road. I want to land my ship in the south part of the city. I want to get into my Gray Cat, and I want to drive to the north part of the city to, make a deal with some broker. I don't mind that. Once again, it's one of those things that, when we were talking earlier about the shipping thing.
If they add tanks to the game, I want big cities. If they don't add tanks to the game, I could care less. But that's just me.
You just want to attack a city, don't you?
Well, I mean, freaking... I'd say put a clip of GoldenEye, the tank chase scene. Come on.
Oh gosh. No.
You plow through a brick wall.
Oh my gosh. You would do it too.
Go to this city and take down this criminal. Okay. Because nothing says overkill like a tank or something. I don't know. I had something better for that. Anyway, next topic.
Yeah, we'll just drive it out of the back of the Starfarer. That's what you kept in the back of that thing. And then of course they roll the credits of the show, everything around the verse, and then like the whole credits thing gets interrupted, and then Erin Roberts comes out, holds his hand in the air, and drops the mic. No, he didn't actually do that physically, but man, did he ever do it spiritually?
And I was like, hey, you can make ships too, and then blew everyone's mind.
Oh man, just like this, I own 3 of these. He started off showing basically this black and white kind of or very much white box version of the Razor, but how you get in and out of it, the animations on it. And it's like, oh yes, I traded my my M50 for the Razor because I just wanted something a little bit different. So and
everybody has an M50.
Yeah, pretty much. And they jump in, they start showing this interior, and they're showing the Hull C and the animation on it. And I know I was really happy to see the animation, because I kept wondering how are they going to pull that off. And it's nice to see that they've already got that figured out. That's great. Then they kind of jump to the Javelin, showing that they changed the visibility on the cockpit, because there used to be a bar in the front, and a lot of people said, how are they going to see this big old stupid bar in the front? It looks like they basically bent the glass. Yeah, they're learning. Like, I can see now. Pilots won't fly into something. And then they kind of, in the middle, without really telling you, but you can kind of tell, they jump into an Idris's interior, because you see one of the panels.
It's hard to tell because they're both Aegis ships, but after like the third or second thing of the interior, it's like this is the.
Well, they show a panel. It's got a ship on it, and it's the Idris. That's how I saw it. It's like, oh, they switched ships, and they show like a basketball court. They show like air hockey. Oh, please let these games be playable. I recognize
one of the hallways because back when they were showing the damage states.
True. But, when they showed the air hockey table, I'm going to say, if air hockey, like my Polaris has a pool table in there, if you can play these in there, okay, guys, you don't need to pull us out for events every 5 minutes. What I want to do is I want to put my ship on autopilot. I want to tell my crew to watch it. I'm going to grab a couple crewmates. We're going to go down. We're going to play some pool. I don't need you to pull me. I've got pool. We're good.
Virtual pool and Star Citizen.
Oh, yeah. Physics, all that stuff is fine. I'm happy with that. Air hockey, I'd be good with that too.
The balls will explode and kill everybody.
There's a physics error and a ball goes to the hull. It's like everyone gets sucked out. So yeah, that was really amazing. And of course, then they moved on to the big one, which they showed us the in-game reclaimer, and that's another ship I own. And I was just like, oh, they showed the interior, they showed the exterior.
They showed it landed too.
Oh my gosh! I tell you what, I was not expecting to see that ship anywhere close to being that level of done yet, and I was absolutely just shocked. And I've watched this segment on the show now probably a dozen times.
To be burned out by now.
Yeah, it's been like, okay, I finished watching it. Rewind, watch it again, and this section is just amazing. And this alone. I mean, all the other information was great, but this was better than icing on the cake. I don't even know how to define it. This was awesome. This was seeing three of my ships that I haven't seen hide nor hair of for the most part come into life. And that was awesome. So great around the verse. So fantastic. Give it a watch if you haven't. You'll regret it if you don't. And I'd like to thank everybody who went and voted up the idea that I had posted for the signature tracking gimbals, and I'll leave a link down below again for it if you hadn't had a chance to check it out. You didn't catch the midweek update. Basically, it's an idea that the developers, Willis Calix, had talked about, and we had a discussion about it because they had brought it up, and Calix really liked the idea about how we can have gimbals run not only universally for everyone's controller choice, but still keep depth and make it flight focused without actually turning automation into a garbage game where basically the guns do the work for you. This is very much...
A lot of these systems are already in the game.
Mm-hmm. Just utilizing what's there.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that the AI needs a way to lock on to people as well.
Well, Calix liked this idea as well because he said that basically from when I gathered on this, and some of this was basically from other people telling me what was being said as well because they were getting private messages from developers. The idea was... They liked the idea for the automated turrets. What was called Class 4s, because not only does this give you the ability to lock onto a target, but also to break that lock. So it's a counter and an action and a counter. So if some ship has automated turrets, there's still a way to get around them. So take a look at the link, read about it. If you like what's there, go ahead and hit +1 at the top, bring it up further along the ranking in the line. And if you don't like it, or if you have a question about it, just leave your thoughts down below, other than "you suck," because I've been getting a lot of that too, because that's the internet.
Welcome to the internet, everybody.
Yeah, leave your thin skin at the door. No, so anyway, just that I want to thank everyone for doing that. And anyway, guys, that's everything this week on the BlastCast. Really great week. And of course, you know what that means. Next week will probably be pretty boring. But
it means there'll be nothing next week. They've blown their load.
Oh, let's hope it's enough that I don't have to make one of those 2 minutes episodes saying sorry. So, anyway, guys, thanks for watching. We will catch you next time.
Bye bye.